In Psalms chapter 91, verse 1 and 2, the Lord said, "Whoever dwells in the shelter of the Most High God shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust." Dakilang Diyos, Ama naming sumasalangit, Ikaw po ang aming sandigan, Ikaw po ang aming taguan. Kung magulo ang mundo, kami makakalapit sa iyo. Inihingi po namin ng tawad ang anumang pagkakamali, pagkukulang na aming nagawa sa isip, sa salita at sa gawa. Ugasan mo po kaming lahat ng iyong banal na dugo na nabuho sa krus ng Kalbaryo at damitan mo po kami ng iyong damit ng katwiran. Sa araw po na ito, na pagbubukas ng aming sesyon, tulungan niyo po ang bawat isa sa amin. Bigyan niyo po kami ng kalakasan, katalinuhan upang bagtasin ang anumang mga pagsubok, anumang mga dinadala ng aming mga kababayan upang mapaglingkuran po namin sila. Sa amin pong mga manggagawa na patuloy na nakikipagsapalaran, lalo na po yung mga construction worker ng Gumuhong Gusali sa Angeles City. Biyayaan niyo po sila at ang kanilang mga pamilya ng tatag ng pananampalataya. Sa mga kabataang Pilipino na lalo na po yung mga bagong graduates at first-time job seekers, puspusin niyo po sila ng inspirasyon at tibay ng loob na harapin ang mabilis na pagbabago sa mundo ng trabaho. Dalangin po namin na sa gitna po ng modernong teknolohiya, lalo na po ang artificial intelligence, naway patuloy po nilang magamit ang kanilang talino at skills na kapaki-pakinabang hindi lang po sa kanilang mahal sa buhay at pamilya, kundi sa aming inang bayan. Lord Jesus, nilalapit namin ang aming buong bayan, mula po sa Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, maging ang aming mga mahal na OFWs. Nawa po, ang maghari po sa amin ay ang pagkakaisa, ang pagkakaunawaan, at pagtutulungan upang sama-sama po naming masolusyonan ang krisis sa enerhiya, krisis sa pagkain, krisis sa trabaho, at kabuhayan na hinaharap ngayon ng aming minamahal na bansang Pilipinas. Ito po ang aming inilalapit at idinudulog sa iyo ng may pananampalataya na ikaw, O Diyos, na nagsimula ng mga magagandang bagay sa aming mga buhay, sa aming inang bayang Pilipinas. Pinangako mo, tutuparin mo po ito, kukumpletuhin mo po ito hanggang sa iyong pangalawang pagbabalik. Binabalik po namin sa iyo ang lahat ng papuri, pasasalamat sa tanging pangalan ng aming Panginoong Hesus. Ang lahat po'y makiisa at magsabing amen.
Amen. Thank you very much, Senator Joel, and thank you for the senators who have led us in prayer the last few days. Truly, to be united in prayer is a blessing. Secretary, please call the roll.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Aquino, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Escudero, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lacson, Senator Lapid, Senator Ligarda, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pangilinan, Senator Soto, Senator Tulfo Erwin, Senator Tulfo Rafi, Senate President Cayetano Alan is present.
Or appear.
In the building naman, pero wala siya.
Stop or go? Yeah. Okay. There are 22 senators present. The chair declares the presence of a quorum. Majority Leader, before we go to the journal, just an announcement. So there are 23 senators present. Kaya tinanong ko, stop or go? Before we go to the journal, just an announcement. Joel, you have that? Yung investigation. So, maybe after the reference of business, or even before that, as announced yesterday, we'll have an all-member caucus. We will discuss two things. We'll finalize the schedule. There's some amendments from the Secretariat and also some announcements and some questions, if there are any suggestions for preparation of our staff. Secondly, one senator, and I thank him, but I won't name him because I didn't ask him yesterday, inquired about the investigation of the DOJ to the May 13 events. So we continue to receive subpoenas or requests for information from different agencies and departments. We have, from the start, fully cooperated. We agreed to a joint investigation with the... So we want to share the information and get direction from all members, just for the information, so that there'll be no misunderstanding. Then I guess the news is the news, and there's no surprises there. So after the all-member caucus, we will ask the indulgence of the minority, because the majority, while we are still the majority, will have a majority caucus after. So if there are any important matters you want to bring up after the journal, of course, that is your privilege. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President, before we proceed, may I just be allowed to acknowledge some guests from the gallery, guests of our Senate President and the Senate. The Council of Bishops and Ministers Association of the Philippines, CBMAP. We have with us also former Presidential Advisor for Religious Affairs, our dear Bishop Tito Butch Belica is here with us.
Who celebrated his
birthday,
yesterday.
Mr. President, yesterday. Mr. President, we also have guests of Senator Ligarda, Dr. Godelin Hisol, Dr. Jelyn Alentahan, and Mr. Rainier Paul Teologo. Guests of Senate Minority Leader Tito Soto, Dr. John Ortiz Chope. Guests of Senate President Cayetano, Princess Bustamante, Miss Teen World Philippines Earth 2026, who hails from Taguig City. We welcome all of them in this August chamber, Mr. President.
And we'd like to thank not only the bishops, but the millions of Filipinos who are praying for the Senate and for the country. Your prayers are felt by both the minority and the majority.
Yes. Mr. President, Senator Lito Lapid is seeking the floor. May I move that he be acknowledged, yes. Mr. President?
May I ask for silence? We want to listen to the legend. Senator Lapid.
Salamat po, Mr. President. Kaliwanagan lang po, manifestation lang. Tungkol po yung nangyari kahapon at marami pong kumakalat sa social media na ako'y lumipat na sa majority. Hindi po totoo yan. Nananatili po ako sa minority group at hindi po ako alis dito. At yung pong motion ni Senator Subiri kahapon ay sinusuportahan ko po. Hindi ko lang po ako nakapagsalita kahapon. Kala ko may botohan. Ngayon pala ay wala naman. Hiling ko lang po dito sa Senado. Sana magkaisa tayo. Iwasan ang ba ngayon? Ang dami-dami natin bisitang pari dito. Palakpakan po natin sila. Para pa ipagdasal na po kami. Na magkaisa na kami para maibalik ang dangal ng Senado. Maraming salamat po.
Your manifestation is noted. And wala ka man sa majority, Senator Lito Lapid, nandiyan ka parati sa puso namin.
Mr. President.
Senator Pia Cayetano.
I'd just like to comment. Gusto ko lang magpasalamat kay Senator Lito Lapid na kahit na magkaiba na tayo ng partido, I think we are batchmates, so magkasama kami since 2004. So majority, minority, buwan-buwan nagpapadala pa rin siya sa akin ng Maha Blanca at Suman. Maraming salamat po.
Gusto ko kasi malaman mo na mahal kita.
What does the brother say?
No, I am trying to figure out bakit Maha Blanca ang binibigay sa kanya, samantalang sinabi ko na kay Kuya Lito Lapid na ako'y umiinom na ng maintenance medicine para sa kolesterol, pero sisig pa rin ang dinadala niya para sa akin. So iniisip ko kung mahal din niya ako o si Senator Pia lang ang kanyang mahal.
Mr. President, nilalapit ka daw niya sa Diyos. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 67th session, May 25, 2026, and consider the same as approved.
Let us first recognize the former Senate President and the present Minority Leader. Senator Tito Soto, sir.
Thank you, sir. I am not objecting. I would just like to make sure that the manifestation of Senator Lapid is manifested in the journal, because
Yes.
in the journal yesterday, it is manifested that he did not agree with the motion of Senator Subiri. So we want that
Yes, so
corrected.
before we approve the journal should accurately reflect that Senator Lito Lapid agreed with every member of the minority. Yes.
Thank you, sir.
And in the end, we agreed as a body, to find a way forward. Yes. Senator Erwin Tulfo, you are
Senator
recognized.
Erwin is,
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Majority Floor Leader. It's a quick manifestation, or if not, a sort of point of clarification, Mr. President.
Please proceed.
I heard that the media are their access to areas in the Senate are limited. Is there a new rule right now, Mr. President? They are banned from going to the sixth floor to conduct interviews or wait for our VIPs, and then they're not allowed anymore in our railings. I mean,
I will check. I have no information. I have not moved to the sixth floor.
please.
I am still holding office here. Sometimes we ask them to allow us to pass going to the session hall. We can't blame them because the Senate is hot topic. There's been some senators who have asked because usually we confine to some areas, but because of the activity since May 11, everyone wants to get their footage, whether in their official camera. So I think we've just asked for a little bit of order here, but let me inquire, but so far I have no information that we're limiting any movement from the media.
Thank you, Mr. President, because that's they were told by I don't know. I really don't know whose order did it come from.
They were told that
They're not allowed to go to the sixth floor anymore, and to move away from the railings because they were just surprised, Mr. President,
Well,
that during the previous.
let me check the sixth floor because I don't hold office in the sixth floor.
Yes,
So
they're
there-
asking if there's a new rule, Mr. President.
Yes, but as far as the railings is concerned, that has been an old ruling. Before they're even allowed on the floor, when you were not still a senator, sir, before 3 o'clock. But what happens is that sometimes the Senate President, that was before I left the Senate to go to DFA, Senate Majority Leader. No? I don't know when we changed the rule na hindi sila pwede sa floor. But they have allotted space all over, but we also have guests. And then our staff has the first row for obvious reasons. But of course, when there's activity on the floor, they move forward. So if it's just a reminder to give the staff enough space and also enough room, that's okay. But if they're being prohibited or in any way they're being hampered from doing their job, then I'll make sure that that doesn't happen. But having said that, we do have limited space all over, and medyo mas marami na talagang media ngayon.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. President, and for that assurance. Thank you.
Thank you for bringing it up, Senator Tulfo.
Yes, Mr. President, I move for the previous question that we dispense with the reading of the journal of the 67th session, May 25, 2026, and consider the same as approved.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we proceed with the reference of business.
There's no objection. Please proceed.
Bills on first reading. Senate Bill number 2151 titled, An Act Urging the Comprehensive Planning, Development, and Export Promotion of the UBE, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, introduced by Senator Marcos.
Referred to the Committees on Agriculture, Food and Agrarian Reform, Trade, Commerce and Entrepreneurship, and Finance.
Number 2152, an act defining the rights and fundamental freedoms of human rights defenders, declaring state responsibilities, and instituting effective mechanisms for the protection and promotion of these rights and freedoms, by Senator Ontiveros.
Referred to the Committee on Justice and Human Rights.
An act granting the Katigbak Enterprises, San Pablo City Incorporated, a franchise to construct, install, establish, operate, and maintain radio and television stations in the Philippines, by Senator Aquino.
Referred to the Committee on Public Services.
An act establishing a College of Medicine in Eastern Samar State University in the province of Borongan, province of Eastern Samar, and appropriating funds therefore, by Senator Aquino.
Referred to the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
An act unifying the National Police Clearance System and National Bureau of Investigation Clearance System, creating the Unified Criminal Clearance System database, providing funds therefore and for other purposes, by Senator Soto III.
Referred to the Committees on Justice and Human Rights, Public Order and Dangerous Drugs, and Finance.
An act providing for a 5-year validity period of the professional identification cards of all Professional Regulation Commission, by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committee on Civil Service, Government Reorganization, and Professional Regulation.
Number 2157, an act institutionalizing the grant of internship allowance for students in public and private state universities and colleges in the Philippines, by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committees on Higher Technical and Vocational Education, Ways and Means, and Finance.
Number 2158, an act modifying the prescriptive period of money claims arising out of employer-employee relations, amending for this purpose Article 306 of Presidential Decree number 442 as amended, otherwise known as the Labor Code of the Philippines, by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committee on Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
Number 2159, an act regulating the planning, design, construction, occupancy, maintenance, and demolition of buildings, promoting building resilience against earthquake, fire, flood, landslide, storm, volcanic eruption, and multiple hazards within an all-hazards approach to resilience building, enacting a new Philippine Building Act, repealing for the purpose Republic Act number 6541, entitled An Act to Ordain and Institute a National Building Code of the Philippines, and Presidential Decree number 1096, otherwise known as the National Building Code of the Philippines, by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committees on Public Works and Finance.
An act strengthening the national anti-rabies program through the establishment of animal bite centers in rural health units, the provision of free anti-rabies vaccinations, and appropriating funds therefore, by Senator Tulfo Rafi.
Referred to the Committees on Health and Demography, Local Government, and Finance.
Okay. Number 2161, an act mandating the establishment of mangrove buffer zones in development projects throughout the Philippines, by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change, Tourism, Ways and Means, and Finance.
Number 2162, an act declaring the Verde Island Passage in the provinces of Batangas, Marinduque, Occidental Mindoro, Oriental Mindoro, and Romblon as an ecotourism zone, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Tourism, Environment, Natural Resources, and Climate Change, and Finance.
Number 2163, an act mandating the establishment of 20-year sports excellence roadmap to strengthen grassroots sports program and to develop world-class elite athletes, appropriating funds therefore and for other purposes, by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committee on Sports and Finance.
Number 2164, an act establishing a One Town, One Tourist attraction program to promote tourism and sustainable economic development and appropriating funds therefore, by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Tourism, Local Government, and Finance.
Number 2165, an act providing for a Magna Carta of tricycle drivers and operators, institutionalizing mechanism for its implementation and for other purposes, by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Public Services, Local Government, and Finance.
Number 2166, an act prohibiting the indiscriminate use of beacons, sirens, and other emergency vehicle lights and audio accessories for moving motor vehicles except as prescribed by law, providing penalties therefore and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Public Services and Finance.
Number 2167, an act assisting young athletes by providing programs and incentives for their development by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Youth, Sports, and Finance.
Number 2168, an act strengthening the Commission on Human Rights, CHR, as a national human rights institution, NHRI, and for other purposes by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Justice and Human Rights and Finance.
Number 2169, an act providing for stricter enforcement in the construction, installation, and maintenance of public safety signages by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committees on Public Works and Finance.
Number 2170, an act amending Republic Act Number 10586, otherwise known as the Anti-Drunk and Drug Driving Act of 2013 and for other purposes by Senator Tulfo Erwin.
Referred to the Committee on Public Order and Dangerous Drug and Public Services.
Resolutions. Proposed Senate Resolution Number 404, congratulating and commending Carl Jarrell L. Drew Pokisiolo for his remarkable performance and multiple medal wins at the 2026 Artistic Gymnastic Apparatus World Cup Series by Senator Cayetano P.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
405, resolution commending and congratulating the winning shoe designers and Marikina shoe manufacturers for their outstanding achievement during the 15th International Footwear Design Competition and recognizing the valuable contribution of the Marikina footwear industry by Senator Gatchalian.
Referred to the Committee on Rules.
406, directing the appropriate Senate committee to conduct an inquiry in aid of legislation into the collapse of a 9-story building under construction in Angeles City, Pampanga, with the end in view of conducting a comprehensive review of the National Building Code and related regulations, strengthening occupational safety standards, and ensuring accountability of responsible parties by Senator Pangilinan.
Referred to the Committees on Public Works, Labor, Employment, and Human Resource Development.
407, honoring the courage, service, and commitment to duty of First Lieutenant Ruth Angelic Pasos and Second Lieutenant Cherky and Lawan Embudo of the Philippine Air Force and extending the profound condolences of the Senate to their bereaved families by Senator Ejercito.
Referred to the Committee on Rules. Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture and pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of the Rules of the Senate, may I respectfully move to elect the following members of the Committee on Public Order: Senators Go, Estrada, Marcoleta, Padilla, and Marcos. And upon the instruction of the chairperson, may I respectfully manifest the designation of Senators Go, Estrada, Marcoleta as Vice Chairperson of the committee. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none. The motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move that we elect the following members of the Committee on Basic Education. Again, for the part of the majority, Senators Padilla, Go, Estrada, Pia Cayetano, Mark Villar, Marcos Villanueva, and Marcoleta. And upon the instruction of the chairperson, may I respectfully manifest the designation of Senator Padilla as Vice Chairperson of the committee. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, pursuant to Rule 10, Section 13 of the Rules of the Senate, I now move to elect the following members of the Committee on Culture and the Arts. Again, on the part of the majority, Senators Padilla, Pia Cayetano, Joel Villanueva, Senator Marcoleta, Senator Marcos, and upon the instruction of the chairperson, may I manifest the designation? Oh, sorry, Mr. President. That's it, Mr. President. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, I move to elect the following members of the Committee on Higher Technical and Vocational Education on the part of the majority, Senator Ligarda as Vice Chairperson, and for members, Senator Pia Cayetano, Senator Go, Senator Padilla, and Senator Mark Villar. I so move, Mr. President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the motion is approved.
May I ask for a minute suspension, Mr. President?
Before that, Majority Leader, so I also have the list of other committees. With the permission of everyone, I will approach Minority Leader. I've been approaching Senator Miggs or yourself on possible committees of the minority. And then, of course, feel free to read your members of the existing committees at any time, because I think the ratio is finalized. Then, just for the information of everyone, we're aware that we do have to constitute the CA, and the Minority Leader and I are talking. We're down to just one seat that we are discussing so that we can finalize. Majority Leader, you motion
Move
to...
for minute suspension, Senate minute suspension, Mr. President.
For the caucus or just a minute suspension here?
So we can talk about it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Session is suspended.
Session is resumed.
Madam President, may I respectfully move that we resume consideration of House Bill number 6639, granting Philippine citizenship to Mr. Benny Boatwright III. I so move, Madam President.
Any objection? Hearing none. Resumption of consideration of the measure is approved.
Madam President, the parliamentary status of the measure is that this has been sponsored on the floor, and I move to open the period of interpellation. And may we recognize the distinguished sponsor, Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan, to sponsor the measure, and this representation to ask some questions, Madam President.
We recognize Senator Francis Kiko Pangilinan and to interpellate Senator Joel Villanueva.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Acting Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam President. Distinguished colleague, the chairperson of the Senate Committee on the former chairperson of the Senate Committee on Justice.
The former, yes. The former.
Yeah, may I be allowed to ask some clarificatory questions, some policy questions from this representation, Madam President?
Willingly to the basketball star of the UST Golden Tigers.
I will no longer ask you any questions, Madam. See, kidding aside, Madam President, distinguished colleague who is also a sports aficionado, although he hails from a different school, the University of the Philippines, but last time when DLSU bagged the volleyball championship, I saw him saying he is also from De La Salle, so I don't know. But
High school, I was a NCAA volleyball
yes.
Player in the La Salle Green Hills NCAA Juniors volleyball. Champion po kami ng 4 na taon, Mr. President.
Yung UST din po champion. Forfeit sa UAAP, Mr. President. But kidding aside, Madam President, and just to go straight to the point, I'd like to point out some policy questions here, Madam President. In fact, I have been a supporter of this kind of measure. In fact, this representation filed and sponsored the naturalization of Justin Brownlee. I know for a fact, Madam President, the importance of being competitive, especially in the international leagues. May I ask, Madam President, if the sponsor would agree with this representation that indeed legislative naturalization for athletes must remain an exceptional policy measure and not become a routine mechanism for strengthening the national team?
We agree, Mr. President, that it should be taken more as an exception rather than the rule, Mr. President. In exceptional cases, the legislative naturalization may be, or ought to be, or can be resorted to by the Senate, by Congress, Mr. President.
Thank you for that, Madam President. And if I may also, and the distinguished sponsor could correct this representation if I'm wrong, because under the FIBA rules or FIBA regulations, countries are generally limited to only one naturalized player in official competitions. indicating, Mr. President, Madam President, that even international basketball rules contemplate naturalization as a narrow exemption rather than the foundation of a certain national team.
That is correct, Mr. President. Our SBP resource person confirms that, Mr. President.
Mr. President, Madam President, Congress has recently seen an increasing number of legislative naturalization requests. Marami na po tayong nakita dito sa bulwagan na ito na kasama involving different players, no, basketball o ibang larangan ng palakasan. Would the sponsor agree with this representation that Congress must now examine whether the frequency of these requests remains consistent with the exceptional character of legislative naturalization?
We are more than willing, Mr. President, and we agree that this should be more the exception rather than the rule. We do have to likewise place on record, Mr. President, that while the FIBA limits its naturalization of players to one, this is not the case, for example, for the Asian Games, where the Asian Games Organizing Committee allows for 3 naturalized players with at least 3 years residence. So, while on the one hand you have FIBA limiting it to 1, we find ourselves in the arena wherein the competition, as among other basketball teams in the region, or at least in the Asian Games, wherein they have 3 naturalized players. And therefore, in that case, then we must look at how we can address the ability of our team to compete in such a setup or a scenario, Mr. President.
I agree, Madam President, distinguished colleague, and I know for a fact, as a basketball aficionado, this representation represented the country twice in international competition, although not too many people would believe me, but you can Google it.
We believe it, Mr. President.
Senator Bam believes, Mr. President. But let me point out, Madam President, the complication of having a lot of players. So maybe let me ask this question: how does Samahang Basketball or Samahang Basketball Pilipinas (SBP) would look into this? Paano po napipili yung mga individuals? Paano nilang na-scout at sasabihin nilang, uy, ikaw potential ka to actually represent our country in international competitions?
Yes, Mr. President. We are informed that it is the coach of our Philippine team, basketball teams, that do the scouting. And there are several criteria, but currently, given the competition that we are facing, the stiff competition that we are facing, a key component, apart from, of course, the willingness to embrace Filipino citizenship and the attendant interest in becoming Filipino, would be the height, for example. That's why Mr. Boatwright is 6'11", 6'10". So that is one consideration, Mr. President, given what we're facing in terms of other basketball teams in the region, Mr. President.
The Senate President thought that he is 6'7". So it's 6'10". The height is 6'10".
6'10", Mr.
Yeah,
President.
Mr. President, I have no problems with the gentleman, the nominee, Mr. Benny Boatwright. I have seen him play several times in the professional basketball. It's just that unfortunately, he actually had an Achilles tear, if I'm not mistaken, like a year ago. So that is also my concern. Like, of course, when you look at the pool right now, and I think the gentleman, the distinguished sponsor would agree with this representation, that FIBA recognizes players that acquire their nation's passport before they turn 16 years old as locals. But again, under FIBA international regulations, Book 3, Article 3-21, there is a clause that allows players to still qualify if they have continuously resided in a country for at least 10 years before their 16th birthday. So, my point here, Madam President, is that indeed our teams, for example, in this particular case, our Gilas, should really prepare long-term preparation when these issues would come in. For instance, Madam President, and I really feel bad that it took so long for us in Congress to pass that citizenship of Justin Brownlee. And I'm not sure how old he is right now, but I think he has been waiting for about 4 or 5 years before he became a naturalized Filipino, and that's the only time that he represented our country. So again, would the sponsor agree that these rules, as mentioned by this representation, significantly affect long-term roster planning for Gilas Pilipinas? Because, for example, Mr. President, as a basketball aficionado, and I think a lot of us here in this August chamber would agree with me, we have, for example, and we have acquired the services of Jordan Clarkson. We have Filipinos right now playing in the semifinals of the NBA. You have Dylan Harper, half Filipino, from the San Antonio Spurs. We have Jared McCain from the Oklahoma Thunder. So, are we at all entertaining the idea of securing their services to represent our country?
Has that been discussed? Yes. Well, Mr. President, my understanding is they have in fact approached a number of the individuals that was mentioned by the good senator from Bulacan. But the preference of these Harper, Clarkson, Harper,
And
is
McCain.
and McCain would be to play for the U.S. teams, Mr. President. But you're right. We agree that there has to be a long-term strategic intervention that would bring us, a policy of recruitment, and so that the best of our, of our Filipino American players, Filipino European players, are part of the strategic recruitment plan, if we can call it such, Mr. President,
Yes.
for our basketball teams.
Thank you for that, Madam President. And I have to also point out Jalen Green of the Phoenix Suns, Mr. President. Just so we don't forget, Mr. President, if this proposed applicant is naturalized, as mentioned a while ago by the distinguished sponsor, he cannot play with Justin Brownlee in FIBA rules, but he can play with Justin Brownlee in Asian Games. Is that correct, Your Honor?
That is correct, Mr. President.
Thank you for that. Again, I was just told that Justin Brownlee now is 38 years old.
And that is why
yeah.
he is not a spring chicken compared to his other teammates, Mr. President.
But I would attest, Mr. President, that if I am to choose the best ever naturalized Filipino citizen to play for our country, it would be Justin Brownlee. And I think a lot of people would agree with me.
I agree with you, Mr. President.
With regards to his performance. Mr. President, just not to belabor the matter, I just have two more questions. Considering that the Philippines already has existing naturalized players, ano po yung specific rationale for seeking naturalization of another basketball player to the point na do we need at least 3, for instance, if you talk about Asian rules, or how long do we or how many times do we need to do this, Mr. President, just to set our policy straight, Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. President. Currently, we have 6 players, Mr. President, naturalized basketball players granted Philippine citizenship. Indonesia, for example, based on the data given us, has 5. Lebanon has 5, and Japan has 12. So this gives us a sense of the competition out there in terms of naturalized players of their respective countries mentioned. And that's why we do have this pool of players. There are several considerations. For example, some of them are better suited with respect to other players in another team. So the chemistry will be different for each player, and therefore a pool of players will then give our coaches more flexibility and leeway in terms of being able to put together a strong team, Mr. President.
And it's not a policy that we're only looking after these players with the enormous height advantage. Is that correct, Your Honor? Or that is the main goal?
That is a consideration, Mr. President, but of course the ability to gel, the attitude, the character. In fact, when we were hearing this measure on Benny Boatwright, his coach mentioned that among many or almost a significant number of the imports that he has worked with, walang sakit ng ulo na binibigay itong si Benny Boatwright. He is in that sense very manageable and very disciplined, and does not give them any headaches, Mr. President.
Yeah, coachable.
Coachable.
Ika nga, Madam President. And I've seen him, Mr. President, no? And that's why I keep on saying I have no objection of him being naturalized. I'm just trying to do my best to set the stage specifically when it comes to our policies, Mr. President. And as the sponsor made mention a while ago, ang pinaka-importante yung attitude and character. There were rumors before that there are some athletes, I'm not sure if it's in the world of basketball or other sports, na pagkatapos pong makuha yung citizenship, aalis na ng bansa at dun sa ibang bansa nahuli or nagkaroon ng mga kaso, etc. Mr. President, yung huling tanong ko po, meron po bang parte dito sa panukalang batas na ito na nagsasabing hindi po pwede na i-take for granted lamang yung citizenship na pagiging isang Pilipino, kung hindi dapat maging embrace din niya yung ating karakter bilang isang tunay na Pilipino na law-abiding citizen at sinasalamin niya yung karakter ng isang Filipino citizen, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President, we made this clear during the hearings. In fact, Senator Jinggoy Estrada was there asking Mr. Boatwright about his intentions regarding residing in the Philippines. And therefore, yes, there has to be that commitment. This is his second time to come back. He has already played for the San Miguel Beermen in the PBA, and this is his second season. And therefore, we agree that there has to be not simply a commitment to play basketball for the country, but to embrace, to represent our flag means to embrace what it is to be Filipino. And in the questions that we raised, we were convinced, Mr. President, that Mr. Ramos, who is the wrestling, wonder kid in the U.S., and Mr. Boatwright qualify in terms of their desire to embrace Filipino culture and become citizens of the country.
Thank you very much, Madam President. That would be all. My high school coach, Francis Chua, already texted me to stop asking questions. But I would just like to put on record that for me, it is important that we lay down our policy with regard to naturalization, Madam President. And I thank the gentleman, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, for answering my questions. Thank you, and that would be all. Thank you.
And we thank the good gentleman from Bulacan, and we agree with him, Mr. President, that the policy has to be clear-cut and that it should not be arbitrary and whimsical and just for the sake of bringing in citizens, naturalized citizens for the heck of it, Mr. President. There has to be a clear-cut policy on this, and we appreciate the questions raised by the good senator.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Senator Pangilinan. Madam President, there being no other reservation for interpellation.
Thank you, Senator. Majority Leader, I see Senator Rodante Marcoleta. What is your pleasure, Senator Dante?
Madam President, I ask the sponsor if he is willing to take a few questions.
We recognize Senator Dante Marcoleta.
Willingly, Mr. President, to our
interpellations.
Kabalen from Pampanga and Tarlac.
Salamat po, Madam President. It's still about policy, Madam President. The bill on Benji boat right, of course, originated from the House of Representatives based on Article 6, Section 24, it being a private bill. And I believe that the counterpart bill is not different from the wordings of the
That is
Houses.
correct, Mr. President. The authors in the Senate will be the Senate President, Alan Cayetano, Senator Pia Cayetano, and Senator Bongo, Mr. President.
Yes, Madam President, and let's see, Section 1 says that Benji Francois Boatwright is hereby granted Philippine citizenship with all the rights, privileges, and prerogatives, etc., etc. And then on Section 2, Madam President, Sir Sponsor, the same person shall take the oath of allegiance to the Republic of the Philippines before an officer duly authorized to administer the same. Madam President, citizenship is one, allegiance is another. How do we exactly measure the allegiance of a prospective person to acquire Philippine citizenship? Is it because we had a chance, for example, to win one game or two in a competition, and that's it? What is the policy? Did we have, for example, a study that in several competitions in the past, when we had the opportunity of taking as much imports as we can in order to participate in international competitions, and maybe we had some glories, maybe we won some, and maybe we lose some. Is that the only consideration because we wanted to shine on one sport that we love most as Filipinos? Yun po ba yung consideration lang? Kasi po, Madam President, yung allegiance po will take the place of patriotism. One who has the ability to do something more for the Philippines. And as a matter of fact, if that citizenship is granted, he should also be prepared to die for this country. Can we, na-measure po ba natin yun sa kanya? Because it seems to me that it's easy to grant citizenship on the basis of how we plays in basketball. Parang napakanipis po naman ng justification. Pagka ganun po ang ating panuntunan lang, paano naman po yung talagang gustong-gusto niya maging Pilipino, but unfortunately, Madam President, talaga pong hindi siya masyadong marunong sa basketball. Hindi natin magagrant yung citizen. Does it matter or doesn't it matter kung halimbawa marunong siyang mag-basketball, but here's somebody, another applicant, who has demonstrated his love for the Philippines. So, saan po ba natin kukwentahin yun, Madam President? Sir Sponsor.
Yes, Mr. President, we agree with the good senator from Tarlac, the gentleman from Tarlac, that mere being able to play for champion and become critical or significant contributions to a champion team should not be the only basis for citizenship, Mr. President. In fact, in many instances in this chamber, we have naturalized citizens who are not basketball players. In other words, it's not merely because we want to win championships that we grant citizenship, of course, in this case, to Mr. Boatwright. And in fact, in the hearings, we made sure through our questions, our searching questions, to determine his willingness, to embrace Filipino culture, his willingness to settle down in the Philippines was likewise raised. Senator Jinggoy Estrada also asked if he was, did he associate with Filipino citizens or Phil-Ams in the West Coast where he resided, and all that, Mr. President. So it's not merely or simply just because this individual applying for citizenship will bring us medals that is the consideration. In fact, Mr. President, with Mr. Ramos, who is the wrestler, we saw, Mr. President, that he had been offered by no less than the United States Olympic organization with respect to wrestling for him to play and for the U.S. team, but he declined precisely because he said he wants to represent the Philippines. And that's where yung tinatawag na, and this was on record, yung lukso ng dugo, Mr. President, hinahanap din natin. And so yes, I agree with him. With the good gentleman, the good senator from Tarlac, hindi lang yung dahil tayo ay kailangan maging champion team na kung sino-sino na lamang ang ating kukunin bilang player, naturalized player, Mr. President. I fully agree with his definition and his distinction between allegiance and citizenship, Mr. President.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you for that answer. I am belaboring this, Madam President, because yung pong mga ibang naging Filipino citizen kahit hindi basketball players, ang alam ko po, when I was still in the House of Representatives, we were diligently examining the applicant kung gaano po yung kakayahan niya para embrace po yung kultura natin. Ang katotohanan nga po, nagpakita silang lahat ng mga manifestasyon at saka ng mga ebidensya, how they carried themselves, how they embrace Filipino culture. Kung ano po ba yung nagawa nila extraordinarily para sa bansa. There were special circumstances, Madam President. Kaya in most cases ay talagang pinayagan namin. Pero pagka yung maliwanag na maliwanag, isang bagay lang po ang kaya niyang gawin ay yung humawak siya ng isang bagay na bilog, yung bola lang, at sasabihin niya sa atin na kaya ko po kayong tulungan na makakuha ng ilang medalya. Parang napaka-simplistic naman po. Sana meron pa pong iba sanang mga pamantayan na magagamit natin. Kasi po si Mr. Ramos, ang kaibahan na niya ay ang mga magulang niya Pilipino. Ito pong isang ito, palagay ko, Amerikano po ito
Mexican and African American.
Yun nga po, wala talaga siyang Pilipinong dugo. Kaya sana sa ganito po sanang mga instances, susuriin po nating mabuti para sa ganon, hindi lilitaw po na napakadali pala nating i-grant ang ating citizenship na para sa atin ay isang bagay na dapat po ay kinakailangan naman maging masinop tayo, maging mahigpit sapagkat ang pagiging Pilipino po ay hindi basta-basta po ibinibigay ng kahit kanino. Salamat po, Mr. Sponsor.
Sumasang-ayon po ako at palagay ko, yun talaga ang mangyayari dahil si Ginoong Senador Marcoleta na po ang magiging chairman ng Committee on Justice at siya po ang tatalakay sa mga citizenship bills sa darating na mga araw. At maraming salamat. Thank you to the gentleman from Tarlac and Pampanga for the interpellation. Maraming salamat.
Thank you, Madam President. There being no other reservation for interpellation, may I respectfully move to close the period of interpellations and debate. So moved, Madam
Is
President.
there any objection? Hearing none, the consideration of the measure is closed, and
Period
we
of
terminate the period of interpellation.
Thank you, Madam President. At this juncture, may I move that we open the period of individual amendments of House Bill number 6639 and recognize the sponsor, Senator Kiko Pangilinan. So moved, Madam President.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr.
Sponsor.
President. Thank you, Majority Leader, Acting Majority Leader. Mr. President, we do not have committee amendments. There are no individual amendments, and therefore, with the permission of our colleagues, we can move toward to terminate the period of amendments. Mr.
We
President.
join the distinguished sponsor for moving the termination of the period of individual and committee amendments. So move, Madam President.
Any objection? Hearing none. The bill has no amendments whatsoever, and therefore it is, consideration of the measure is closed and passed on second reading with no objection.
Madam President, I'm about to move.
Okay. You've
close
not
lang
moved.
muna.
You've
yet.
not moved for a second reading yet.
About to, Madam
Closure
President.
of the period
Thank
of
you.
amendments.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam President. May I, before we
Just-
move for the
just a quick
approval,
question,
the Senate President would like
Yes,
to take
we
the floor.
recognize Senate President Cayetano.
Senator Pangilinan, congratulations for all you've done in the Committee on Justice. So if he becomes a citizen, he can already vote.
As long as he registers, yes, Mr. President.
So he will have voting rights.
That is correct. Mr.
So
Vote Right will have
vote right will have voting
vote
rights.
rights.
Okay.
Yes,
Just
voting
wanted to
rights.
clarify.
He will have the right to vote. Thank you, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
and we are all hoping that he votes right. Madam President, I move that we approve on second reading House Bill number 6639. So move, Madam President.
Any objection? Hearing none, the said measure is now approved on second reading. Congratulations, Senator Kiko Pangilinan.
And Madam President, some of our colleagues wanted to be co-author of this measure. Let me put that
Would you
into the
like to
record,
read them
Mr.
into the
President.
record, please?
Yes, Madam President.
Who are these co-authors?
Everyone present, Madam
Everyone
President?
present to be made co-authors of the said measure.
Thank you. Co-sponsor, Madam President.
Co-sponsor
Yes.
or co-author or both?
Co-sponsor because
To co-sponsor the measure, yes. Let it be, let
Placed in the
everyone
record.
present here today
Yes.
be made co-sponsors of the said measure.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I move that we suspend consideration of House Bill number 6639. So move, Madam President.
No objection, hearing none. Consideration of the measure is hereby suspended.
Thank you,
May I
Madam
ask for a
President.
minute suspension, Madam President?
Session suspended.
Thanks.
Session is resumed.
Madam President, with the permission of the body, last May 11, 2026, the Yes, sir. Yes.
Session, yes,
Mahina.
I resumed session.
Madam President, last May 11, 2026, the distinguished gentleman from Tarlac, Pampanga, and Rizal, Senator Rodante Marcoleta, proposed an amendment to the rules of the Senate, particularly Rule 14, Section 41. Pursuant to Section 136 of our Rules of the Senate, a motion to amend the rules must be presented at least one day before its consideration. Hence, Madam President, in compliance with our rules, the gentleman from Tarlac, Pampanga, and Rizal, Senator Marcoleta, is seeking the floor, Madam President. I move that he be recognized to explain his proposed motion, Madam President.
We recognize Senator Rodante Marcoleta.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam President, I would just like to reiterate for the record the proposal to amend Rule 14, Section 41, Senate session. The proposal, Madam President, is by way of an additional paragraph, Section 41C, after Section 41B of Rule 14 of the Senate Rules, which will state as follows. Section 41C, allow a senator for justifiable reasons to attend and participate in the session through teleconference, video conference, or other reliable forms of remote or electronic means using appropriate information and communication technology. I so move, Madam President.
We take note of the motion of Senator Rodante Marcoleta. I recognize Senator Ping Lacson.
Yes, thank you, Madam
Yes.
President. This is a parliamentary inquiry. What is the status of the motion introduced by the Honorable Marcoleta last May 11? Has it been referred to the Committee on Rules?
I am told that it's been referred to the Committee on Rules, Majority Leader.
Okay.
Yes, it has been referred to the Committee on Rules, and that's why in this particular deliberation, the Committee on Rules is giving it back to the floor for plenary action, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. President. Has the Committee on Rules been constituted?
I believe that Senator Joel Villanueva is the acting Majority Leader.
Yes.
And would be the best position
Okay.
to answer
Thank
the
you,
question.
Madam President.
In the meantime, I recognize Senate President Cayetano.
Madam Chair, with the permission of Senator Villanueva, so the Committee on Rules is not reporting out the
No, my
the
question, Mr.
proposal.
President, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Madam President, with your permission. My question is, has the Committee on Rules been constituted?
Yes. So, Madam President, the answer there is the same answer to the question of Senator Pangilinan and former Senate President Soto, that in accordance with Section 19, this is the same. They continue to function. Having said that, I was explaining that the motion of Senator Villanueva was not for the Committee on Rules to report out what was referred to them, but to return to the plenary. Because if you look at Section 136 of our rules, the rules may be amended by means of a motion, which should be presented at least one day before its consideration, and a vote of majority senators present shall be required for its approval. So you do not need the endorsement nor the forwarding of the Committee of Rules for the amendment of the Committee on for the amendments of the rules. So the only requirement is that it is put on the floor at least one day before, or the proposal is made, and that a majority of the senators present will vote for its approval. So I just wanted to clarify that, just so that we don't have any miscommunication that whether or not the Rules Committee met, who are the members, etc. Because right now that's irrelevant, because we have given back to the plenary the proposal. Yeah.
Very clear. Thank you, Senate
Madam
President.
President,
Senator Lacson's recommendation.
does it mean that we are now disregarding the committees of the Senate? So the committee chairman or the chairman of any committee, including the Rules Committee, may just report out any motion or any resolution referred to it in plenary, and then just, it is within his power to just report it out by himself without any deliberation in the committee, without any committee report. Is that the new rule now, Mr. President, Madam
It
President?
is
Madam
clearly...
There's no new rule. I read the rule.
Yes.
Senator Lacson is referring to resolutions or
And motions.
communications or anything referred to the Committee on Rules. We're talking about a motion to amend the rules. We had the option of taking it up, but since everyone asked for one more day, it was given to the Committee on Rules. The Committee on Rules has an option to take it up, but the acting majority leader or acting chairman of the committee gave it back to plenary, and the plenary is more, how do I put it? Supreme, thank you, Senator Lacson, over the committee. So we didn't disregard the committee. It is our choice from the start whether we want to give it to the committee or not. So when we give it, so for example, I have a motion now to to extend the session to June 12 instead of June 5. That can be given to the Committee on Rules, or upon coordination with the House, the plenary can decide it directly, or we can give it to the Committee on Rules, and after he talks to the House of Representatives, he can even report it out, or he can easily, legally, morally, just say that I am tossing it back to the plenary, which is what's happening today. So
Thank
it's
you,
not a
Madam
new rule.
President. That is assuming that there was no referral. But in this case, and I'd like to invite the attention of the body to Journal number 62, dated May 11, 2026. And if I may read the particular portion of this journal, proposed at 6:25 p.m., the session was resumed. Proposed amendment to the rules of the Senate. Senator Marcoleta proposed an amendment to Rule 14, Senate sessions of the rules, by inserting a new paragraph C under Rule 41, which reads, A or C, allow a senator for justifiable reasons to attend and participate in the session through teleconference, video conference, or other reliable forms of remote or electronic means using appropriate information and communications technology. Now, here's the portion, Mr. President, or Madam President. While expressing no objection to the proposal, Senate President Cayetano A. suggested giving the Committee on Rules time to discuss the matter. Now, my question is, was there any discussion by the Committee on Rules? Apparently, there was none, because it's now being reported out by the acting majority leader without consultation with any of the members. And by the way, Madam President, wala pang Committee on Rules eh.
I believe that it was mentioned, and I will reiterate from my understanding that there was no Committee on Rules meeting because that motion is reverted back to plenary.
Madam
Meaning,
Chair.
we are not ignoring the fact that, of course, committees must hold meetings, but this particular motion is being referred back to plenary. And may we just put on record, it says in Rule or Section 136, the rules may also be amended by means of a motion which should be presented at least one day, and we're complying with that, before its consideration, and the vote of the majority of the senators present in the session shall be required for its approval. I believe that is what the Senate President had explained.
Evidently, Madam President, action was taken. And the action was to refer it to the Committee on Rules, since the position of Majority Floor Leader was vacated. So how can the committee properly function in the absence of a committee of the committee members?
As
Madam
the
Chair.
Senate President
Madam Chair.
had stated,
Let me finish,
there is
Madam
a rule
President.
of a continuing operations of the committee,
But they
while
were
the new head
vacated,
has
Madam
not
President. Walang members ang Committee on Rules. So we cannot invoke continuity because we vacated all committees, all positions, including the members. And may I invite you to Section 24 of our rules, Madam President. The committees shall hold meetings to discuss, decide, and submit a report on all matters transmitted to them. This was transmitted to the Committee on Rules. So the committees shall hold, including the Committee on Rules, shall hold meetings to discuss, decide, and submit a report. There's no report, Mr. President or Madam President.
Madam President.
So we're violating our own rules.
We recognize Senate President.
Yeah,
Kim.
Mr. President, the chair already made the ruling, and it's not appropriate to argue with the chair because, as explained to Senator Lacson, the committee did not report it out. He read the journal of May 11, but he did not read the motion of Senator Joel today. His motion today was pursuant to Rule 136 of the rules, a motion to amend the rules, meaning if Joel was no longer the majority leader, if I was the majority leader now, or even an ordinary member, that motion was carried. No one objected that we take it up. Because, Madam Chair, we're bringing it back to plenary. So natural po, walang discussion sa Committee of Rules. Kasi wala naman po sa rules natin na kailangan i-discuss sa Committee on Rules. We did that on May 11 so that everyone will have an opportunity to study the rule. It's a very simple amendment, so we should go to the discussion of the amendment if anyone is objecting to the amendment. But definitely, the right to propose an amendment is a right guaranteed by our rules. Senator Marcoleta has an amendment. We should go to discussing the merits or demerits of having that rule. You already ruled that it is proper for the plenary to take it up. So may I request or move that we, if there are any objection, we discuss their objection.
I'm objecting. That's the effect of my manifestation, Madam President. I'm objecting because I'm invoking Section 24 of our rules. And as I read into the records, the Journal of May 11, 2026, na-refer po ito sa Committee on Rules. And there was no discussion. Action was taken actually by this body.
Then, Madam Chair, if there's an objection, may I move that we divide the House?
It's a objection.
Point of order, Madam President.
On that issue, not on the issue of whether or not the rule is good. Your issue is whether or not it's proper to take it up on the floor. The position of the majority is that there's no rule being violated. So we will vote. The presiding officer has already ruled, but the gentleman continues to object. So we have to vote on it.
Mr. President,
We're not
objection.
voting on the amendment yet.
Objection.
We're voting on whether the
Yes.
amendment is proper or not.
Yes, interjection, Madam President.
Yes, Minority Leader, Senator Soto.
We will have to support that resolution or thinking of Senator Lacson, which is we did not constitute the Committee on Rules. So what are we discussing right now? I suggest that we constitute the Committee on Rules and discuss it there. How do I know this? Ako minority leader hindi ako member ng rules. Ex officio Tumawag ba? Hindi. Ano to? Binabraso?
Point of order, Madam Chairman. Where in the rules does it say that an amendment has to pass the Committee on Rules?
Section 24, Madam President.
Anong sabi po sa Section 24?
The committee shall hold meetings to discuss, decide, and submit a report on all matters transmitted to them.
Madam
And this-
Chairman, that's
thank
not
you.
the rule. The rule
Yes.
is 136.
136, can you
So-
please, for the third time, may we request the Senate President to read into the record
The rules
Rule
may be amended
136.
by means of a motion which would be presented at least one day before its consideration, and the vote of the majority of the senators present in the session hall shall be required for its approval. So I respect their objection. But how do we determine objections in this Senate? We vote. So if there is an objection, they have already explained their position. We have explained our position. I move that we divide the House, Madam Chair.
May I, Mr. President? We are several members of the minority here, and only Senator Lacson has spoken. Why are we railroading this process, Mr. President? I have a
Chair.
number of issues that I'd like to raise regarding this motion, Mr. President. They are citing Section 136, assuming, for the sake of argument, that their position is correct. The second paragraph, Mr. President, says the rules may also be amended by means of a motion, which should be presented at least one day before its consideration. We submit, Mr. President, that the earlier motion that was entered or was referred to the Committee on Rules. This is a new motion, Mr. President.
correct.
And therefore, we have to take consideration of the one-day requirement before we can act on it, Mr. President. And that should be, if not tomorrow, because we don't have any session tomorrow, that should be on Monday, Mr. President.
Madam
Again, let me reiterate. The rules may also be amended by means of a motion, which should be presented at least one day before its consideration. We submit that the motion that was mentioned last May 11 was referred
Yes.
to the Committee on Rules.
Yeah.
This is a new motion, Mr. President, that is being presented on the floor, which requires that it be presented one day before it is considered. And therefore, we have to consider this motion on Monday, Mr. President.
Madam
As
President.
explained by the acting majority leader, the motion of Senator Marcoleta has been brought to the plenary, and
Referred.
both the majority and the minority had mentioned Rule Section 136, and it says that the vote of the majority of the senators present in session shall be required for the
Madam
approval.
President.
I believe that this rule has been mentioned more than 5 times.
Madam President.
I
may-
believe also that the interpretation of the rule is different. So I take note of the manifestation of Senator Pangilinan.
may,
Mr. President,
may-
if I may just continue, Mr. President. All in previous,
Senator
In-
Lacson
in-
actually has the floor.
yes,
I
with the
still have
permission
the
of
floor,
Senator
yeah.
Lacson.
Senator
But-
Lacson has the floor.
But
May
when-
we continue with the manifestation of Senator Lacson, and then
Yeah.
after him, he will yield to Senator Pangilinan.
Madam President, the invocation of the Senate President of Rule 136 is premised on the assumption that there was no action taken. But we took action. We referred it to the Committee on Rules. So Section 24 now applies, Madam President. You're going to just ram down our throat something that numbers can dictate,
Madam
Mr.
Chair.
President.
Yes, Senate
Yes,
President
Madam Chair.
Cayetano.
First of all, we're just repeating the arguments. I respect his argument, but I disagree with it. Secondly, they've used already 3 words: ram down their throat, railroaded, binabraso. In this democratic institution, when we disagree, we vote. When we have rules, we follow the rules. The particular rule in amending the rules is 136. We're following that. So why are we using unparliamentary language to express or try to provoke the kind of argument we don't want between the majority and minority? You have your opinion, we respect that, we have our opinion. So how do we resolve that? By voting. Now, if you think we violated the rule, then go to court. But we do not think that we violated the rule. It is very clear. So my point of order, Madam Chair, they're out of order by insisting that there's another rule except for 136. So I move that we vote on it, Madam Chair. We divide the House.
Objection. Objection.
If there's an objection, then we vote. So may we proceed with the
President.
vote, Madam President?
Mr. President, I was earlier, it was the manifestation of the presiding officer, the Madam Chairperson, that after Senator Lacson, I be allowed to speak, Mr. President. Are we now curtailing my right to speak, Mr. President?
Madam Chair,
We are
can I
not able
answer
to
that?
ask questions as to why we are amending the rules. We are not able to ask questions as to who they wish,
Madam Chair, may I answer?
who will benefit from the amendment to the rules.
For the
Is this
kind
rule, Mr.
information
President?
of
Is this
the-
rule, Mr. President, for
I was
Senator
about to
Bato, who is not
recognize
here?
Senator
We would
Pangilinan.
like to raise these valid questions, Mr. President, before we go into a vote, Mr.
Madam Chair.
President.
Yes,
These,
just-
we should not be.
How can the
ar-
presiding officer recognize Senator Pangilinan? Please know that I would never curtail your right to speak. Just as in 2004, I believe you were seated, and I was a vice presidential candidate of FPJ then, and my microphone was closed, and my right to speak was closed, was not given. I remember that time now, and the word noted was said to me. That will not happen now. I will not do that to you. And I'm not curtailing your right to speak, Senator Pangilinan, except that you were speaking at the same time. And I was about to recognize you because Senator Lacson had the floor.
Thank you, Madam President, for
So
that
I just wanted
clarification.
to be clear on record because I
If-
recognize you're being emotional, but it will go on Senate record that the presiding officer was curtailing your right to speak. I would never do that, and I would not do what I experienced in 2004 in the House of Representatives in the canvassing of the votes then.
Mr. President.
Thank you.
Madam President, with due respect, Mr. President, I was
I'm
not
yielding-
referring to the
Madam
presiding
President,
officer.
I'm yielding the floor to Senator Pangilinan.
Yes, thank you, Senator Lacson. We recognize Senator Francis Pangilinan.
Yes, Mr. President, and allow me to clarify, Madam President. I was not referring to the presiding officer in terms of the curtailing of my right to speak and to raise questions, Mr. President, because it was the Senate President who was moving to divide the House, Mr. President, without sufficient debates. Mr. President, this is the first time I'm going to experience this in a long time wherein debates are now being curtailed because there's a
Since you're
motion
not
to
being
divide the
curtailed,
House.
we would like to hear your objection to the motion. Thank you.
Mr. President, there are a lot of questions that have to be raised as to why this amendment to the rules is being undertaken at this time. Precedent provides, Mr. President, that when we amend our rules, we do so by way of resolution. We do not have that resolution now. In fact, Mr. President, a total 48 amendments of our rules all went through resolutions. This is the first time after 48 amendments, Mr. President, that we do not have a resolution so that we can
Point
vote
of order, Madam Chair.
and amend the rules properly, Mr. President.
Point of order. Point of order takes
Yes,
precedence.
Senate President. Point of order takes
Yes.
precedence.
First
over
of all,
everything else.
I hope we learned our lesson. Senator Pangilinan already apologized to Senator Padilla, then now you're shouting at us. No? No, the record will show, nakatape naman eh. Ang taas-taas ng boses nyo eh. Di ba? You were shouting at kaya nga hindi magkarinigan. Now, what's my point of order? We are not discussing the merits yet of the amendment. No one's curtailing your rights because wala pa tayo dun eh. Ang pinagbobotohan natin ngayon, kung pwedeng i-take up sa floor o hindi. Yun ang itinatake up natin. And the arguments have already been laid out. And Senator Pangilinan and I were together in 2009 where we had debates here where Senator Enrile did not even allow amendments. And then we voted. It depends on every issue, Madam Chair. There's no specific rule of the amount of time. I was asking the gentleman about certain issues in one resolution. He refused nga for further interpellation and said it's time to vote. They were the majority. So, Madam Chair, we're here. We're willing. Senator Marcoleta is ready to take questions. Ang pinagbobotohan lang po natin ngayon, simple lang. Whether or not we can take, whether or not the proposal to amend the rules is in order. Yung pa lang ho. Yung specific amendment, sino magbe-benefit, paano magbe-benefit, etc. We support the right of Senator Pangilinan to ask questions, pero wala pa tayo dun eh. So, again, may I raise the previous question, Madam Chair, the point of order, the parliamentary reason. Go ahead.
Be given the right
Madam
to speak. I am the
President,
movant
kanina pa po
here.
ako nakatayo dito at
I need to
nagtataas ng
speak
kamay.
because I am the movant.
Senator
Madam
Rodante
President.
Marcoleta.
Thank you, Madam
And then we
President.
hear Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Thank you, Madam
and Senator
President.
Problema
Erwin
natin,
Tulfo.
Madam President.
Yes,
The
proceed.
Senate President invoked Section 136, Paragraph 2. Kung babasahin po natin ito, Madam President, napakasimple lang. Ito pong Section 136, Paragraph 2, is a special provision in precisely amending our rules. Yung Section 24 po, this is a general rule. Kung mapapansin po ninyo, it presupposes that it will take up all the bills referred to that committee. General po yung function niya. 136, second paragraph, is a special provision. Sa principle po ng batas, yun pong special provision takes precedence over a general provision. Yun lang po, basahin po ninyo. Hindi nga po, it will not even take one day because this is not a new motion. Kung mapapansin nyo, ni-reiterate ko lang po ito eh. It was already moved last May 11 pa po. So that is even more than one day. So who is talking about one day here? Ang pinag-uusapan po natin, unless Unless we respect Section 136, ang linaw-linaw po, it talks about the rules may also be amended. Diretso po ito eh. So this takes precedence over Section 24. Simpleng-simple lamang po ito eh.
Madam President.
Thank you, Senator Marcoleta. We recognize Senator Risa Ontiveros.
Salamat, Madam President. Meron din po akong substantive na interpellation sa motion ngayong araw na nire-raise o itatalakayin ni Senator Marcoleta, yung text na pinamudmod ni Senate President sa atin ngayong hapon. Pero una, gusto ko pong segundahan yung sinabi ni Senator Pangilinan. Bagong motion ito, Madam President. Bakit po? Sa ilalim ng Section 24, ni-refer yung unang mosyong binanggit ni Senator Marcoleta noon sa Committee on Rules. Ngayon kung sasabihin na ibinalik yung mosyong iyon, yung unang mosyon ni Senator Marcoleta sa plenary, sino ang gumawa nun? Dapat ang Committee on Rules. Na-initiate na po ang prosesong iyon alinsunod sa Section 24. Hindi pa nga po nako-constitute ang Committee on Rules. Wala pa nga pong minority contingent sa Committee on Rules. So wala pang body na pwedeng ibalik yung unang mosyon ni Senator Marcoleta sa plenary. Kaya ko sinusugundahan ang sinabi ni Senator Pangilinan. Ito pong mosyon na gustong talakayin ni Senator Marcoleta at pinamudmod ni Senate President sa atin, bagong mosyon po siya. Kung kaya't nag-a-apply po ang Rule Section 136 na kailangan bigyan ng isang araw pa pagkatapos ito i-move para talakayin. And tama si Senator Pangilinan, sa Lunes pa po yun, Madam President. Salamat, Madam President.
Madam President, without giving meaning to anything, ito
Senator
pong
Marcoleta.
mahirap kasi kung wala po tayong legal background dito. Kaya sinasabi ko na nga po, hindi po bagong motion ito eh. Hindi siya bagong motion. Kasasabi ko lang po, May 11, minub ko na po ito eh. Sino po magsasabi na bagong motion?
Point of order. Ad hominem.
Sinasabi ko lamang po, ang
Hindi,
sinasabi
Madam
ko lang,
President,
kanina ko po sinasabi.
Hindi po tama yun.
Section
Nasasabihin yung
136.
kasama niya
Pwede po
ay
ba?
walang
Session is
kinalaman,
suspended.
Pwede po
walang
bang
alam sa
pagbigyan
batas.
Session is resumed.
Madam Chair. Yes,
Senator Cayetano.
I'm listening to the two senators, and as I mentioned kanina na wag na tayong gumamit ng brasuhan, etc. And I see the point of Senator Risa, but I'm also listening to Senator Marcoleta. It's kumbaga sa libro, iba yung love language, but I don't think they're meant to be any offense. Having said that, we're only discussing whether we will take up the amendment or not. And we have exhausted already all the arguments. This is a simple motion, so I move that we divide the House. May I reiterate my motion. Then we can go into the merits and they can try to convince us whether or not we agree. So the motion is to take up the amendment to our rules as proposed by Senator Marcoleta. The objection is that it is not in order because we did not follow our own rules.
Madam Chair, Madam President,
Before that,
Madam President,
yes, we recognize Senator Erwin Tulfo.
Madam President, my question is, why is the majority in such a hurry to tackle this motion? This allowing a senator for justifiable reasons to attend and participate in the session through teleconference, whereas in Rule 14, Section 41, under B, it says convene and hold a session through teleconference, video conference, or other reliable forms of remote or electronic means using appropriate informations and communications technology system due to force majeure, Madam President, or the occurrence of a national emergency. I guess, Madam President, this justifiable reason, what is that? Does that fall under force majeure or does it fall under national emergency, Madam President? My question
Madam
is,
Chair.
why are we in so hurry? Why are they, the majority, in a hurry to tackle this motion and divide the House, Madam President? We need answers in the minority.
Madam Chair.
Or is it because, Madam Chair, they're in a hurry because of news reports that probably 2 of our colleagues might land in jail this weekend? Is that the reason why? Is that the reason why they have to have this inserted, the Section 41C, para makaboto po kung sino man yung makukulong dahil sa announcement ng ombudsman na may lalabas na po ang warrant ng ilan sa mga kasama natin, Madam President. That is my question, Madam
Madam
President.
Chair, the
We recognize
gentleman
Senator-
is out of
Senate President.
order because his question sa nagmamadali, bakit, can be discussed in the actual motion. Can be discussed after the motion whether we should take it up. We take offense that bibigyan niya ng ganyang kulay. It's just like us saying, are you afraid if we have the hearing on the Blue Ribbon on flood control, mababanggit ka rin? You do not make that kind of statements here in the Senate because you assume good faith from everyone. That rule hindi minadali. May 11 pa ho yun. So, Madam Chair, I move that we divide the House.
And the voting will be done via viva voce.
Madam President,
Minority Leader.
I move to adjourn or a quorum call. That is a higher precedence, Madam President.
So I only see the Minority Leader representing the minority. The others had left.
Madam Chair, we will not object, but for the record,
Yes.
they scampered out and left the minority leader instead of discussing the rule. We are not even discussing the rule yet. And then, ganun na yung allegation nila. And no one from the minority stood up to say that out of order si Senator Erwin Tulfo. So we will not object, Madam Chair. In fact, we move that we adjourn till 5 p.m.
Madam President,
Monday.
before that,
Madam
Before we
President,
adjourn.
motion to adjourn is
Senate
not
President.
debatable. Akala ko ba
me-
magaling sa rules?
We're not
Parliamentary
debating.
inquiry.
It's not
We're not
debatable, Madam
debating
President.
minority
Parliamentary inquiry,
leader.
Move to
Madam
adjourn.
President.
We're
I'm
not debating,
and
Madam
we
Chair.
will indeed adjourn.
Parliamentary inquiry.
Yes, Senator Marcoleta.
Nung pong nagsimula tayo, Madam, meron po ba tayong quorum?
We had a quorum, yes.
Yes, Madam President. Kapag ka po ba nag-walkout ang minority, nawawala po yung quorum. Nagsimula po tayong may quorum. It doesn't matter if they walk out.
Yes,
I think we still have the quorum.
Madam President, once there is a quorum call, you have to call the roll. Kahit present lahat o kulang kanina o there was a motion to dispense, whatever that is.
Not
A
upon a
quorum
situation,
call,
Madam President, when
motion
they,
to,
when they
motion to
readily
adjourn
and willingly walk out.
takes precedence.
Hindi po yung covered ng rule natin, Madam President.
Madam
Kung
President,
sakasakali
As
po,
reiterated by the Senate President and as conveyed by the Minority Leader, former Senate President, the rule states that the motion to adjourn takes precedence and not taking sides.
5 p.m. Monday
And we will adjourn session
until 5
until
p.m.
5 p.m.
Monday.
on Monday, June 1st, 2026.
June 2nd? First ba? June 1.
June 1 ba yun?
The birthday of Senator Lacson. So we will have cooler heads.
Okay.